Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last webinar of the Digital Days series of 2024 from FECC. I am Tatiani, and I will be hosting the webinar today. And we are very happy to have you all with us to close this insightful week of webinars. So today we'll have the participation of Knowde about product master data unlocking business transformation with Ali Amin Javaheri, which is co-founder and CEO of Knowde. So the webinar will deal with the challenge of facing the complexity of managing a big amount of product data from various sources, and we'll explore solutions for distributor business. So to introduce you to FECC, we are an European association representing all chemical segments, all company sizes and chemical supply chain functions, and we mainly demonstrate interest of the SMEs to benefit of all our members. Next slide. So here are some examples of supply chain functions that are involved, which are warehousing, recycling, formulating, research and development, logistic and packaging, and technical and regulatory advice. We would also like to share with you about the Congress happening in Sitges in Spain this year between 11 and 13 of September. Registration will be open very soon, so keep an eye on our platforms for announcements and to follow up the program. Some housekeeping rules. As usual, we would like to remind you about our competition compliance and that this webinar will not be discussing about prices, production, transportation rates, and market procedures. And if that's the case, please raise an objection and the appropriate measures will be taken. And lastly, for housekeeping rules, for the Q&A session, there's a tab on your right-hand side which has a section written questions. Please feel free to write your questions there throughout the webinar, and we'll gather them to be answered at the end of the presentation. And the slides are going to be shared as well with our attendees afterwards. So for today's speakers, we are welcoming Ali Amin Javaheri. Ali spearheads digital transformation in the chemical industry, and with extensive Silicon Valley experience, he leads Knowde's team, revolutionizing how customers interact with suppliers. Knowde, backed by more than $100 million in funding from top VCs, connects more than 8,000 global suppliers. And Kellogg MBA, Ali previously contributed to ChemsPoint's significant growth. So thank you so much, Ali, for being here. And now the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. Great. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be in front of the FECC audience again. Why don't we jump right into the first slide? Okay, this actually has little to do with today's webinar. However, I always think it's a good place to start. You know, because Knowde is headquartered in Silicon Valley and we have so many tech investors, we see and hear about so many companies doing amazing things, companies that really have a chance to change the world. But very few are building tech in an industry as necessary as ours. You know, whether you're a producer or a distributor, I think every once in a while you got to take a step back and recognize how important your company is to the world. You know, you work in the mother of all industries, you help enable every physical good. You know, you're the brand behind all of the brands. We're thankful at Knowde to be able to serve companies like yours. We don't recognize and appreciate enough how important everyone is to the rest of the world. And I think we should be celebrating it a lot more often. Next slide, please. You know, for those that have spent any time listening to any webinars I've been on or podcasts or whatever, you know that I've spent essentially my entire life career in the chemical space. And as much as I love this space, we do have some work to do from a tech perspective. As important as this industry is, it is lagging from so many others. However, there are lots of folks that are seeing the trends that are happening around you and are starting to invest to catch up. And our hope is that we can go side by side in your journey as you catch up with so many other industries that have progressed a little bit further online. Next, please. Okay, so most people may recognize Knowde as a marketplace. However, what you don't realize is what we've been building ever since the inception of when we started the company, which is the technology that allows us to be able to organize, structure, and harmonize all of the data that makes the marketplace and all sorts of other applications possible. Many don't know this, but the way that we came up with the name Knowde originally was that we want to be the node that connects all this knowledge. As you guys all know, there is so much knowledge today sitting in documents and in people's heads and so many other places in the organization. And to be able to create a source of truth and connect all this knowledge, we think is incredibly powerful and absolutely necessary in order to be able to enable any sort of digital experience. And so this is what we've anchored Knowde on ever since we started the company, which was that to be able to move this industry online, we've got to solve the root of the problem that's holding the industry back from digital transformation, which is the organization of all this incredible data that is distributed across so many orgs. Next, please. Okay. This is essentially how the industry works today. For many years, producers and distributors hire field salespeople, and they have company cars and brochures and technical data sheets and so on, and they go and talk to customers and hand out the literature that they need in order to be able to learn about all the various amazing products that you make. And in these documents contain so much information. Just by reading one paragraph of any of these documents, it tells you what the product is and how it should be used and why you should use it and its value proposition and so on. And to take the time to read all these documents is hard, whether it's for a salesperson or the customer. This is what we mean by being able to organize all of the data in this industry. There's so much information that is trapped in all of these documents. To be able to extract it out and organize it and structure it is what we've, again, anchored the entire organization on. Next, please. Okay, so whether it's a technical data sheet or a brochure or a safety data sheet or a compliance document or regulatory document, I mean, these are all the various pieces of information that customers need in order to be able to make buying decisions or to continue purchasing the product. And it is just our belief that this is the problem that needs to get solved in order to be able to move this industry online. We need to be able to extract all the relevant data out of these documents and literature and random systems in the organization. We need to be able to normalize all this data. We need to be able to structure all this data and be able to get it in the hands of everybody really, really quickly. And I think if we're able to solve that, then a lot of other things, a lot of the bigger aspirations around machine learning and AI and all these sort of things are unlocked from there. Next, please. Okay. Many of you guys already know this. I don't need to stress this point too much. We spend a lot of time with a lot of distributors in the market, and one thing is fairly consistent, which is that the information that the employees and the customers need is fairly distributed across the entire organization in file cabinets, in SharePoint drives, in inboxes, spreadsheets, and so on. It's this information that we need to wrap our arms around, structure it, and get it, like I said, in the hands of everyone that needs access to it so they can make decisions faster. Next, please. Okay, the result of not having this in place, and everyone feels this, and a lot of times because you felt it for so many years, it's become the norm. And because of where Knowde sits and kind of at the intersection of chemicals and tech, there are so many other industries that have gone past this. They've solved this core problem, and because we've been sitting in this pain for so long, we think it's the norm, but it really shouldn't be the norm. And this is the outcome of the pain that we've been enduring for so long. So when you don't have all this information nicely organized and structured, this is the result. There's an impact to customers. Customers aren't able to easily browse your entire catalog, be able to select the application that they're actively working in today, and being able to select the properties they're looking for and the features and benefits they're looking for, and find exactly the right product for their application. It's not easy for them to find the product and then learn about the product and understand its value proposition and why they should be using it and why they should reach out to your sales rep in order to be able to learn more. It should be fairly easy at this point for a customer to understand which markets you serve, what your core product families are, and then be able to navigate that catalog to be able to find what they're looking for. And as they're trying to look for things, that gives you a lot of signal in terms of their needs and what sort of topics your salesperson should speak to them about when they do connect. Next, please. Same thing goes for sales teams. Think about how difficult it is as a salesperson to sell 500 products or even 50 products. Every single one of these products are technical in nature, serve different applications, have different value propositions. There's no way, unless that salesperson has been in this role for 30 years, that they can know exactly what product to recommend, why they should recommend it, why it's the best for that particular application, because all the knowledge they need is still trapped in those documents and they can't memorize everything that's in there. Thus why so many sales teams gravitate towards the easier products to sell. This is a big missed opportunity. By being able to digitize all this information, you're essentially giving sales teams 20 years of experience overnight. Next, please. This is a use case that we hear a lot about. There's a lot of companies that have been running on older systems, older ERPs, or maybe older CRMs, or they're accumulated a lot of different systems through acquisitions. And now they want to be able to get down to one single system to run the entire business and basically create consistency across all the different regions and the markets that they serve. And in order to be able to transition to a new ERP and create that single instance, it's a major challenge because there's so much different information sitting in the ERPs today, and it's not consistent today. And so to be able to extract all that information out of the ERPs, create the right structure, and then be able to ingest it into the new one, it's a big challenge. So many operational improvements can come about if this problem gets solved, but it is a big challenge. And I know it's one that so many distributors are going through today because we hear about this use case over and over and over again. Next, please. This is one that's very sort of near and dear to us, which is that once the data is organized and structured and it is feeding the ERP the right way, then you can layer on all sorts of insights. You can help management make decisions a lot faster. Today, it can be really hard for someone to be able to know how much of one particular product is sold across the entire organization. That from us is a fairly simple reporting use case. Now imagine that you want to know how much of all products you're selling into a particular application. These sort of insights should be at everyone's fingertips. Being able to pivot on this information and know that it's always accurate is how you grow, because it's these sort of insights that tell you where the markets are shifting and where customers are showing interest and where the sales team should be spending their time. But for many organizations, because this data layer is not organized the way it should be, being able to derive the right insights and build the right reporting can be quite challenging. Next, please. Okay, those were 4 downer use cases. Let's talk about how how we can solve all this. And it's not as difficult and time consuming as I think people sometimes assume it is. Okay, so going back to kind of the core of Knowde and where we started, we're the node that connects all this knowledge. There's information all over the organization, ERPs and CRMs and documents and certifications and all these sort of things. We need to be able to get all this information out, organize and structure it. Next, please. Okay, here's a very simple example of what I'm referring to. On the left-hand side is a technical data sheet, but you can replace that with anything. It could be a regulatory document or a safety data sheet or marketing brochure, or maybe even an extract from your ERP. Regardless of what the file type is, there's all sorts of knowledge in the document or the spreadsheet. In this case, I'm highlighting that one particular document, the first page of a particular document, has at least 10 very valuable attributes here related to its applications and functions and features and properties and so on. All this information needs to get extracted and structured, and that's what we do. I'll drill into the black box in a second, but the outcome of it is beautifully structured data that is now accessible to everyone across all teams and in all systems. If you squint a little bit, you can see, or you at least get a glimpse of how we structure all the data. Okay, so unpacking the black box for a second. We ingest all the data in whatever form and function folks have it in. So this could be PDF documents, it could be spreadsheets, could be an ERP extract, it could be anything. And then we start to pull the right information out of all of this source information. And again, if you squint, you can kind of see a lot of the attributes at the bottom here. These are all the incredibly valuable information that's stuck in all this literature, like its applications and its features and its properties and why you should use it and how it should be used and the safety dynamics of the product and so on. Next. Once it's all extracted, then we structure the data. It starts by creating a very consistent product hierarchy, supplier, brand, product, SKU, and then it's making sure that the nomenclature of that hierarchy is very clear and consistent. And it's making sure that we have one golden record for every layer of the hierarchy. And then we associate every attribute back to the right level of the hierarchy. So if you're extracting the attribute and feature and function data, that goes back to the product level of the hierarchy. If you're extracting a higher level value proposition of the entire brand, that gets associated to the brand level of the hierarchy. Super important. The last step, which I'll touch on very briefly, is being able to harmonize all this data, which is to be able to connect and stitch all this data together so that you can pivot on all of the right attributes. So once you make all the associations, then you can say, well, rather than me just looking at it from a product hierarchy perspective, why don't I now pivot and look at the application hierarchy or the product family hierarchy? And being able to connect all these nodes together is what enables that sort of insights that I was referring to earlier. Okay, we're now smart enough to be able to organize all this data and get it into a data platform. We organize structure, we go through the 4 steps that you just saw, and then it all lives in a data platform. And that data platform is accessible to you, and you can now ingest it into your CRM, your ERP, your CMS, and so on. It also has native integrations to applications that Knowde has developed. And from our perspective, like, this is how digital transformation needs to happen. It needs to sort of go from the inside out. If this data platform isn't in place, and it doesn't obviously have to be, the creation that Knowde has developed. Point being is that you need a data layer, a clear, consistent data layer, comprehensive data layer. Once that is in place, then you can start creating all sorts of applications on top of it. And this point is one that I should probably stress because we see a lot of mistakes happening in various companies. a lot of times the business will know of an outcome that they want. They know that they want to be able to allow their customers to self-serve online. Then, the tech teams get involved and they go and make buying decisions around the right CMS platform, the right tech that they want to be able to build this new website on, and so on and so forth. And a lot of times they forget how they're going to feed the product search bar, how they're going to feed the filters, how they're going to feed the product pages. If this data layer isn't in place, then creating those amazing customer experiences just isn't possible. It always starts with the data. It always starts with the data. It's a big problem because of all the reasons that I mentioned, but this needs to be in place in order to be able to enable all of the amazing ideas that people have. I know that AI is top of mind for so many. To be able to organize all this data and start to structure some of this data makes the ability to be able to get information out of there a lot easier and a lot more relevant. It's got to start here. Like, if you're going to take one thing away from everything that I say today, it's this, which is, if your data layer is not accurate and comprehensive and it's not your source of truth, then building on top of it with other applications, it's going to be a challenge. The big investments that you make in the applications aren't going to deliver the business outcomes that you desire. Okay, I think I have one or two other slides, and then we'd love to be able to answer any questions that may exist. Here's a great example of what I was just referring to. So if you want to be able to create an amazing product search on your own website and be able to expose your catalog and allow people to filter based on compliance and labeling claims and physical forms and properties and all those sort of things, well, all that knowledge is sitting dormant in those documents, and we've got to be able to extract and structure all that data in order to be able to enable an experience like this. This is how, this is exactly what I mean in terms of getting that data layer right and then building the applications on top of it. I literally can't stress that enough. We've seen so many instances of projects that do not deliver on the right business outcomes because the data isn't right. Okay, any other slides? Oh yeah. Here's a couple great quotes. I've had the great pleasure of meeting so many folks around the industry. I have a Knowde podcast that we do, and we have a guest every 1 to 2 weeks. And Harmu, Stefan, there's so many others that have joined this and have kind of provided their insights in terms of where they see digital transformation going for distribution in the future. For those that haven't listened to it, I think they're fantastic. I ask a similar set of 3 or 4 questions every time, just trying to get at the heart of what initiatives people are working on and what unlocks their or what things they're trying to unlock in order to be able to drive transformation for their organizations. And you can read a couple of the quotes here. And a lot of times it's very consistent, which is that people are recognizing that in order to be able to enable the ERP, in order to make the sales team more productive, help customers self-serve, make reporting possible, make it easier for the regulatory team, all of these sort of things, the root of solving every single one of these comes down to the data. Final thought, and I'm just reiterating the same concept over and over again with a slightly different visual. Master data, the organization of, sits at the center of all things transformation. Without this, transformation is not possible. If you want to join 6 other marketplaces in the future and be able to expose your catalog across all these different audiences that these marketplaces have, you need to be able to feed them all with similar data. You want to create a sales enablement app so that your sales team is super productive out in the field and can answer customer questions immediately. You need the master data. You want to be able to create a customer portal with e-commerce features in order for customers to be able to reorder and pull down documents and all those sort of things. You got to organize all the data. That's the root. That's the problem that needs to get solved. Once solved, then you unlock everything else. And that's what drives supply chain efficiency and sales growth and better price management and so on and so forth. Okay. Oh, going back to my original thought and why we exist and all those sort of things. And when I meet with investors, this is actually the last slide that I have in our presentation every time. Whether it's a board presentation or talking to new investors or whatever. I again, because I've worked in this industry a long time. I sometimes, like I said, you got to take a step back and just recognize how important this industry is to the rest of the world. And we're the enablers, like we're the ones that make all those other products possible. And if we pull this industry online, make it more transparent, not from a pricing perspective and all those other things, but from an information perspective, from a knowledge perspective, make it more transparent and allow the sales teams and the customers to be able to collaborate faster, being more responsive to customer needs, being able to engage them while they're on your web assets. You're going to drive a lot more collaboration. You're going to get the customer back in the lab faster, and they're going to be able to innovate faster. And I think that there is just like tremendous downstream impact that this industry will have once it moves online. I think with the pace of innovation in the physical will just accelerate. Okay, that's probably enough of me talking. I'm happy to answer any questions that exist. A lot of times people get quite shy with these Q&As, so I'm happy to answer questions post as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ali, for the insights and all the reflections on this topic. It's very insightful, I'm sure. We do have a couple of questions that we gathered from the Q&A. The first one that I'm gonna choose to ask you is around sustainability. So how does effective product information management contribute to regulatory compliance and efforts around sustainability?
It's a big topic. It's front of mind for us right now. Every CEO we talk to, one of the things that the top topic, I think, is sustainability, but one of the things they talk about the most is the number of open job recs that they have for regulatory roles. And the reason is obvious. It's because their customers are inundating them with questionnaires to be able to understand the profile of the chemistry that they're buying. And a lot of times, after receiving those questionnaires, they have to go back and research about, find the right documents, read the documents, understand what the documents are saying, and then manually fill out each of these forms. And it really shouldn't work that way. And this kind of goes back to the same theme that I've been talking about over and over again, which is if you extract all the relevant data out of these documents and structure it, then you can create your own template or fill out the customer's questionnaire so much faster. And so, there's all sorts of impacts to regulatory compliance and then soon to be sustainability. I mean, you can't really understand, the footprint and the makeup of these products without getting your hands around, this core data that I keep referencing. And so, it all starts there.
Great. Thank you so much for the answer. The second question is around what are the first steps that a company should take when starting their journey towards digital transformation, and your insights on that?
Well, I hope it was clear over the last 30 minutes, but I'll just say again, you've got to get the data layer in place. Yeah, I mean, there's so, like, we underestimate how much data there is in each of these organizations. There is so much. It's not just in the documents, it's in the systems and the inboxes and everything else. I mean, it's all there. And to be able to get all that information out of these various sources and organize it and structure it That's step number one to transformation. I mean, you can't scale transformation without doing that first.
Okay, good. So I would jump for the challenges. You did bring already in the beginning of the presentation what are the challenges that we need to face. But I think maybe, yeah, to go again on these, some key challenges that distributors in specific face when trying to organize and digitize the product data in a bit more deep, let's say, analysis. Yeah.
You know, the complexity on the distribution side is much higher than a producer because you span so many producers, and to be able to harmonize the data and make it consistent across all suppliers is an incredible challenge. Let me give one simple example that I always use, which is that every term, and I mean every term, needs to be standardized. So let's take a very simple example. If we go read a document from Dow Chemical versus DuPont versus Celanese, the way that they refer to the same term is going to be different. Somebody may refer to a car as automotive versus auto versus transportation versus, you know, the 15 other synonyms. And in order to be able to make it really easy for a salesperson or a customer to find exactly what they're looking for that particular application, you've got to standardize one term. And so there's a lot of complexity that needs to get solved. There's a lot of complexity here. And that standardization isn't just for, you know, that highest level of the hierarchy, which is the market. You've got to create that same standardization across everything. Features and benefits and end uses and applications and properties. I mean, you name the attribute, you've got to standardize it, which is, I would argue, the core reason why this industry has struggled to digitally transform, because that is a very big challenge to solve. You're essentially having to create a new dictionary and thesaurus and language that everyone can be consistent around. And, you know, nobody likes to be consistent. And so that's a lot of the magic that we've built.
Yes, great. Well, thank you so much for all your answers. We do hope that all these insights bring, yeah, more of a north and to companies to really get along on the path for digitization. So these are all the questions that we have for today. And thank you again, Ali, for being here with us and answering all of them. In case the attendees would like to know more, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to assist you, or also to Knowde. Feel free, I'm sure they will be happy to get your questions in. So thank you again, Ali, for participating and providing us with these nice perspectives on distributor business improvement through digital transformation. And yeah, thank you to all attendees for participating and engaging with us. As I mentioned in the beginning, this was the last webinar of the Digital Days series for this year, and we'll certainly organize it again next year, and would love to have you all again here for more insights. So yeah, thank you very much and have a good day, everyone.
Appreciate everyone's time. Always available to answer questions afterwards. I know it can be a little rattling to ask questions in an audience setting. Happy to answer them afterwards. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Ali. Bye-bye. Have a good day.